Before we get into it, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. The breakfast show incident. Is this another terrifying... Why do you keep linking these? Fine, now we gotta watch it. Fascinating horror.
On the 13th of November 1986, BBC employees were rehearsing a stunt for an upcoming episode of The Late Late Breakfast Show. The spot would see a member of the public carrying out a movie-style stunt after a week of intensive training.
Gotta go fast.
It was a popular segment, but on this occasion, it would end up going very, very wrong. The Late Late Breakfast Show first aired in 1982. It was a variety
This is little JCS. How is this criminal psychology?
Magazine show, with a range of different segments entertaining viewers every Saturday evening. It was presented by Noel Edmonds, a man who had a history of high-energy, anarchic live television shows.
Yeah, you missed SpongeBob.
The Late Late Breakfast Show was a perfect fit for him. As well as popular musical acts and celebrity guests, it featured hidden camera pranks, lots of audience participation, and humorous takes on the events of the past week, sometimes including outtakes from other BBC shows. One feature of the show was called Give It a Whirl. Viewers would call in for a chance to take part, and each week one would be randomly selected to carry out a cinematic stunt live on the next week's show, with just 7 days to train and prepare for the feat. The drama was amplified by using a pair of giant spinning wheels to select both the stunt and the member of public who would attempt it at random. As an aside, this element of the show was actually not as unplanned as it seemed. Both wheels were rigged. The stunt that would be performed was chosen in advance to fit the schedule of the production team. And the member of the public, far from being totally random, would already have undergone a medical exam, completed paperwork, and been briefed on their assigned stunt.
Fake, all of it.
That said, while it wasn't by any means random, it was still quite an achievement to be selected, as each year more than 8,000 people applied to take part. Those lucky, or unlucky few, who were chosen ended up doing all kinds of outlandish things. One participant rode a wall of death on a motorcycle, while another drove
behind you. I see a sign called Gullible.
There's a sign that says Gullible behind your chat. I already checked mine. Thank you.
Car through a burning hoop. One carried out a mock rescue from the deck of a burning boat, while another was chosen to jump over a speeding race car. These stunts, carried out live on national television, drew a huge audience, and so were a vital part of the show. The BBC had plenty of competition.
Yeah, but
a
BBC.
big show-stopping stunt would usually be sufficient to bolster their rankings. Naturally, in order to keep audience numbers high, the producers ended up chasing bigger and bigger thrills as the years went by. Inevitably, some stunts went wrong. One participant broke their shoulder after being fired from a circus cannon. Another suffered...
Chat, would you do this if you got the chance to do it for free? Be the human cannonball? It's pretty dangerous, but what a thrill, huh?
Multiple injuries when a human pyramid they were part of collapsed. And, most dramatically, one member of the public fractured his pelvis and suffered neck and back injuries in a high-speed car crash. Some stunts were, in fact, considered too dangerous to even attempt. A stunt where a participant would be plucked by helicopter from the top of a chimney just before it was demolished was cancelled after the show received a threat of legal action from the UK's Health and Safety Executive. The stunt which put an end to the Late Late Breakfast Show was nicknamed Hang 'em High, and was a mix of escapology and a daredevil bungee jump. The chosen member of the public would be secured in a box high above the ground, and would have to escape from restraints and then leap from the box on an elasticated rope. Despite the history of Give It a Whirl incidents, there was no shortage of volunteers. Michael Lush, a 25-year-old builder from Southampton, was selected after...
He's 25? Why does he look 45?
...being nominated by his girlfriend. He was extremely pleased to have been picked. Completing a dangerous stunt on national television would make him into a local celebrity, and would be a unique memory to carry with him for the rest of his life. When he was selected, he assured producers that he was, in his own words, up for anything with a hint of danger. On the 13th of November, Mr. Lush met BBC production...
What a scuffed police car this is.
...staff for a rehearsal of the stunt just outside London. While on the ground, Mr. Lush appeared unafraid. In fact, he was keen to get going. The production team offered to carry out a run-through with one of their own staff, so that Mr. Lush could see that the stunt was safe before he took part. But Mr. Lush turned down this offer. He wanted to get as much practice as possible before carrying out the stunt in front of an audience of millions. His enthusiasm was understandable. From his point of view, there was no reason for Mr. Lush to worry. After all, he was taking part in a stunt organised by the BBC, the National Broadcasting Organisation of the UK. It could hardly get more official. Better still, an expert was on hand to assure him that the stunt was safe. They would be using state-of-the-art equipment and carrying out multiple rehearsals. Having steeled his nerves with 2 pints of beer at lunch, Michael Lush was ready to jump. He entered the box and was lifted 37 metres, or 120 feet, up into the air by a crane. On the big night, he would be restrained with either handcuffs or a straitjacket, from which he would have to escape before leaping from the box. This time around, given that it was his first jump, there were no restraints, just a safety harness and safety helmet. When everything was in place, the production manager signalled to Mr. Lush, and Mr. Lush exited the box. Those watching from the ground knew instantly that something was wrong. Instead of playing out cleanly behind him, the bungee line coiled loosely in the air as he fell. There was nothing to stop him hitting the ground.
Oh no.
And that was exactly what happened. Mr. Lush slammed into the concrete, sustaining fatal injuries. The bungee line, which should have saved him, landed uselessly beside him. Paramedics were called to the scene, but could do nothing to help. He was declared dead on arrival at hospital.
Jesus.
In the aftermath of the incident, both the police and BBC officials struggled to understand what had gone wrong. An inquest would reveal a series of glaring omissions. The BBC had multiple safety officers, but none were present on the day of the jump. The expert they had hired to prepare Mr. Lush for the stunt was, it turned out, barely qualified. He had experience with special effects and theatrical tricks, but had never carried out a stunt like this before. No airbag or safety net was used, and Mr. Lush was attached to the crane by only a single bungee line, when most professional stuntmen would have recommended using at least 2. No ambulance had been on scene in case of an accident, and Mr. Lush had been sent up in the box.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they should have at least put a second guy in the box that doesn't jump, I think.
Alone, with nobody more qualified to advise him or check his equipment before he jumped.
Jeez.
And that state-of-the-art equipment which had been used to secure him, it was so state-of-the-art that it might have been more appropriate to call it untested.
Oh.
That particular issue was a carabiner-style clip, which had failed during the jump. Experts demonstrated that this clip could easily be sprung open by a weight no greater than a bag of sugar. Finally, and damningly, several groups had written to the BBC to express concern over
But
the
they had
stunt
an expert on site that said it was safe.
carried out on the Late Late Breakfast show. The Dangerous Sports Club, a group that had pioneered modern bungee jumping in the UK, had even warned the BBC, saying that if they attempted a stunt using bungee cords, without seeking advice from the Dangerous Sports Club, they would be sure to kill someone.
Wait, I want to see that again. The BBC want to have the Dangerous Sports Club, which regularly performs the stunt, jumping from a great height, had advised very firmly against allowing him to do it.
Or to kill someone. This list of errors was comprehensive and led to the BBC being prosecuted by the Health and Safety Executive. As well as having to pay a nominal fine, the BBC also made a voluntary payment of £120,000 to Mr. Lush's family.
Wow, well there we go.
And immediately cancelled the Late Late Breakfast show. Never again, it was announced, would any BBC programme feature dangerous stunts performed by members of the public. Noel Edmonds, the face of the show, was devastated by the incident. He sent a wreath to the family and took a break from broadcasting, but eventually returned and is a well-known TV personality to this day. Though largely forgotten, what happened on the Late Late Breakfast show has nonetheless had a huge impact on the course of broadcasting in the UK, effectively steering the BBC away from stunts involving the general public. Hopefully, with lessons learned, Saturday evening light entertainment should never again lead to such a needless death.